Welcome to Rags to Riches, the Ironman gear progression tailored specifically to completing the Chambers of Xerics challenge mode raid solo. From the scuffed early game Ironman gear to the endgame best in slot items, we will be recreating our gear progression by changing and upgrading gear between each raid that we complete. You don't need a twisted bow to begin doing challenge mode raids, but it certainly is a lot more fun when you do have one. This is the 5th iteration of our solo CM setups. If you guys are new, make sure to tune into the first video where we were geared up in some pretty scuffed gear, to say the least. And throughout the raids, we've been marginally increasing and upgrading our gear just based on the timeline of how we actually progressed on our Ironman in real time. This is currently a series where we recreate to the best of our abilities the setups we had at the time. So that's why we have our fighter torso, our dragon warhammer, and whatnot. And in the last video, that was the first raid where we introduced the infernal cape. There are a few exceptions though. Obviously things like the blood moon tassets didn't exist 2 years ago. Or maybe it did. Maybe it did. But more specifically, I had Bandos tassets at this point in time. And unfortunately on my Ironman account, I don't have those anymore. So we're just using blood moon tassets in its place. Which, if I'm not mistaken, offensively it's the same stats. And the blood moon tassets are actually worse defense than the Bandos tassets. For the bulk of the previous runs, we technically only had a Dragon Defender available at the time, but another case where I don't have a Dragon Defender anymore, and I wasn't about to go farm one, so we've been using the Avernic. And obviously, these Avernic treads are very, very new in the grand scheme of things, but previously I've been using Dragon Boots, whereas I technically had Primordial Boots at this point in time already. I think our gear has progressed enough to where I'm just going to slap on these Avernic treads now. Other than that, the big change from this setup to the previous ones is the presence of the twisted ancestral rope top. Okay, not necessarily twisted. I don't think I had a kit yet, but you know, the ancestral rope top. All right, enough yapping. Let's gear up. Well, we're already geared up. Let's pot up. Divine Super Combat. With these earlier setups, it is a little questionable whether or not we have enough time to pre-pot an anti-venom and then make it to shamans and past shamans. I could pre-pot an extended anti-venom plus that's available these days from Araxite or Araxor, but that seems kind of expensive. Okay, we only hit the one hammer. That's okay. You know, I gotta say, if we weren't doing this recreation of these solo CM setups, I would not be wearing this gear. I got a fighter torso on, blood moon tassets, and then the Avernic treads, as well as the Natus Knot face guard. This is a pretty cool looking combination, but definitely not a combination I would have had at any point in time in the past. At least not this specific one, right? Like I would be rocking Primordials right now. And these days I'd be just wearing my Max Oath Plate Torva combination and all that. Alright, I think for a one hammer Tecton there and with a Fang, that was pretty decent DPS right there. It is going to heal up a little bit at the anvil now, though. So there are still many, many different iterations that we're going to be doing for the solo CM mini-series here. But, you know, this kind of gives me an idea. We can kind of do a similar concept at TOA and Theater of Blood. Although the Theater of Blood one's going to be a bit more interesting. For one thing, we definitely need a team to do Theater of Blood with. And it's also dependent on the roles. In the early days of me doing TOB, I was often melee role or range role. But these days, I'm primarily a freezer. But I guess, you know, with the variation at top, there's a lot of things we could potentially do. Oh, didn't quite get the spec off in time there, but Tecton's down. Moving on. We are going to sip the anti-venom there, though, right after Tecton. Surely that's okay. Okay, so the time to beat, which was our previous run, was a 46:50 something. So just under 47 minutes. You know, I do think the Ancestral Rope Top is going to make enough of a difference for us to beat that time. Obviously, we're only doing one run per setup, so it just comes down to the RNG within that one run a lot of the times. But the bigger upgrades we get, the more drastic the difference is going to be, right? Like, if we're rocking a Tumakin's Shadow, for example, it's going to be very obviously better than our current setup. What is going on with my inventory? Okay, we're good. The one constant in all of these runs while our gear is constantly changing is our prep, in which I'll expand on more later. Right now, we just have to scav. Let's get our defender on. So right here, I'm actually going to drop this restore so I have room for my planks, juice, and mushrooms. Only got planks right now, though. There we go. Not quite enough, though. Not quite enough. Some more juice. You know, we have 12 juice, but we need 13. Very precise with that. And while I do think 12 could be enough, we're just going to play it safe and get that one extra one. The last raid we did, we prepped exactly the same, and it actually became a little tight. I guess we were like pretty unlucky at some rooms, and we ended up burning a lot of brews and whatnot, so we'll just make sure we have the exact 13. Anyways, we have what we need now. Let's deposit everything and start chopping some saplings for kindling. Just make sure to pick this revet back up. We might not need it, but just in case. I think what really makes this outfit is the fighter torso, because gone are the days of ever wearing a fighter torso, right? I mean, I do see people running around with the face guard, you know, Avernic treads, obviously the new trend, ferocious gloves, you know, Inferno cape when people do have them. But it's the fighter torso that really makes this melee setup, this outfit. The fighter torso used to be definitely like a solid mid-game thing. Like you see an Ironman if you see them with a fighter torso and like dragon plate legs or something, right? But I think the meta is a bit different these days. You got the Blood Moon, and oftentimes I think people will forego the fighter torso for the Blood Moon chest piece. Alright, that's all the kindling. Let me just drop this restore real quick. We're going to need that in a second here, but in the interest of inventory organization, drop that on the ground real quick. Pick it back up. Alright, we're going to hammer spec Ice Demon. These days, Ice Demon actually is weak to Demon Bane, so we would want to use an Emberlight or something. But back then, And when I say back then, I mean sometime in 2023, I was just osmuntum fanging this bad boy. Round and round we go. Yes, I did used to do this method to fight Ice Demon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of times. So click intensive. Alright, down it goes. Oh, we didn't have our enhance going, so let's get that going now. Let's see if we can get it to jump. Nope. Very simple method here is to just walk one tile and then run another. That way you create enough distance between you and the green bomb that it throws at you. Back then it was also important to do this method for run energy management, but I mean, ever since those changes, maybe not quite as important. I'm gonna try to safe spot this one. If it would please cooperate. Oh, you know what? Never mind. It's like half health now. A little bit over. Couple more hits. Okay, that was a big hit to finish it out. Bushu seeds, thank you very much. Alright, as I mentioned back when we were scavving a few minutes ago, we're going to be prepping the exact same way on all of these CMs we're going to be doing. So first things first, let's put the spade and the potions in shared, then deposit the rest. Take the spade back out, 13 juice and 8 mushrooms. Inventory full of vials, drop 4 of those, and that's exactly 21 vials. With our max gear setup, this is definitely an overprep, but in a setup like this, you know, it might be just enough. Maybe if we're doing a good run, we have some to spare. If we're doing a bad run, it's, I think, just enough to cover the bad RNG or the bad luck. Also, of course, we do pick up all the brews and all the revitalizations from all the rooms. So Vanguards, we're picking everything up, Vespula, as well as Vasa. Okay, so I was busy talking there, but we only really needed the 8 Buchu to start with to make these revitalizations. So we got the 8 right there. We're going to tuck those away, take 10 of our vials that we previously deposited, back out. Now we have 13 vials, and we just need the 13 Buchus, and we're good to go. Make the brews as we go into the next room. There we go. Let's get our gear out. Overload, enhance, couple of brews, and a restore. Start out with the major first. I forgot to bring out my defender. It's still sitting in storage. Well, that's awkward. I knew something wasn't right when I had to rearrange my inventory like that. So these Avernic treads that I am wearing, they are the best in slot tribrid brutes, if you didn't know. So it is actually a significant upgrade, which is an outlier, a exception to what our setup was like back in 2023. But I'm mostly bringing them to replicate what the primordials might be like. But yes, I do have a bit of a boost in range and mage as well as a result of that. I will say though, back then this was prior to the mage damage rework. So the occult was very, very, very powerful, and you didn't really need the other mage weapon swaps as much. For example, these days, prior to the Avernic Treads, I'd be bringing the Eternal Boots. But back then, that was definitely not a viable option. It was like an unreasonable switch to bring. Okay, right there, I just kind of had to wait it out a little bit. I couldn't reach the ranger. But yeah, silly me forgot my defender in the storage. Come on, I just need to hit a 20. I have an ancestral robe top now. Come on. There we go. Don't dig, no. It's honestly so annoying when the vanguards have a sliver of health and then they dig. You're just one hit away and then it's just all this extra time required. Misclicked on my last dose of the enhance there, but not to worry, we get more. Alright, moving on to the thieving room. Not much to this. We're going to chuck in the 12 for now. Clear our inventory of all these potions. Get the other 18 grub. Okay, don't know what I just clicked on right there. doing these old setup runs, it's just a testament. It goes to show just like how far we've come, you know? Like I have all this old gear still sitting in my bank apparently. I mean, to be fair, some of this is dupes for my other account that I play on in the same game group. But yeah, like fighter torso still there. Okay, let's do some inventory rearranging real quick. Okay, there we go. We don't need the mage gear anymore. We do need some of these specialty items though. On to Vespula. But yeah, as I was saying, you know, the Bofa and the crystal armor is mostly irrelevant these days now that we have the twisted bow. The trident is 100% dead content. Not only do we have the shadow, but we have the Sangstaff, we have the Eye of Ayak. Just a lot of upgrades. Oh, I clicked on the grub. Or whatever that is. It is a grub. Okay, this Vespula is actually going relatively fast compared to the previous Bofa runs we've done. 136, yeah, we will absolutely take that. It's up 2. Moving on to tightrope. Just making sure we have everything we need. I think so, I think so. I was a bit busy talking there and not looking at what I was withdrawing. So I had to double check there. But yeah, throughout this series, we're going to be doing our best to recreate how our setups were. Like I said earlier, there are going to be a few exceptions, and that's just due to the nature of not having those items on my account anymore. Now, if I was doing this on a normal account where I could purchase everything, that would be a different story, but not the case right now. Very nice. For the Ranger, it's definitely good to flick into some tankier range defense armor as it shoots you because those Rangers hit pretty hard. I think in terms of getting to all these rooms, the bulk of these rooms are mostly range and maybe a little bit of melee. It's very minimal mage DPS that you're doing in here, so I think with that said, because our range setup isn't going to change too much, being that we're running the Bofa setup for the bulk of these, it's the Ulm times that are going to vary the most, I think. But I do know in the near future some more melee upgrades are on the way. So between the mage and melee upgrades, it is going to speed up the raid overall. But yeah, just due to the nature of how we progress this account, the BOFA setup, we've been rocking with that for a long time. As I'm potting these raids, more recently I've been learning and implementing the Vasa teleport skip, and we're gonna try to recreate that during this raid as well. Throughout the series we've been doing it, and I think we've done it every time all but once, and that was the previous raid, so let's see if we can patch that up and do it properly this time around. Oh, I thought I finished it there. Did not. There we go. Okay, as soon as we're done with Guardians here, switch into the Osmumton's Fang. Run in and run to this green marked tile right here. Stand on it for a tick. Run back. Okay, there we go. Nice and easy. Summon our Thrall. If you do find yourself in a situation where you have to run through Vasa like that, do try to switch to Protect Melee if you can. It is a little bit of damage reduction. So I think we are on the 5th iteration of our solo CM setup now, and at this point in time we still don't have Dragon Claws or a ZCP or anything like that, so we're here Fang specking the Vasa Crystal. That's another crystal. Is that the third one? We might get teleported here. Or is that the second one? Okay, that was the second one. I don't know, maybe I can't count. Yeah, unless our Bofa goes absolute nuclear here. Okay, never mind. No shot, no shot. We're gonna get teleported. A little spooky there. Oh, didn't have ferocious gloves on. This Voss was taking so long we gotta resummon Thralls, which was a common occurrence back then. Pretty much guaranteed. Alright. Vasa done. We don't need 2 overloads, so we'll drop the 1. Heal up as we make our way over to Mystics. And we're going to have to re-overload here. We'll just do that now. I gotta say, the Avernic Shreds go well with the white crystal. And if I had a quiver at this stage, I'd bring the quiver as well, and that would match pretty well. Oh my goodness. You know, back then, in a lot of my runs, I did die at Mystics a few times. You can see right there, though, these things really do hit like a truck. The crystal really isn't that much protection, honestly. Let's make sure we start healing up here in preparation for Mudded Owls. We'll get the Anguish back on. Okay, unfortunately that portal made us path around the wrong way. Okay, just as we did last raid, we're going to slap on Augury here just for a little bit of more mage defense, I should say, not range. We're going to be camping prey range unless the baby dog gets close. Prey is running a little low, so let's take care of that. Might get meleeed here, yep. Ow. A little scary right now. Spur all the way up. Switch into our melee gear. Somehow my overload and enhanced timers are very offset, so I didn't expect my prayer enhanced to be not running there. One more hit? Okay, not if we hit such a tiny number. One more mage hit. There it is. Come on, Bofa. You can do it. There we go. Re-up on our overload and enhance. Make our way to Ulm. That was a 238 Mudded Owl. That's a 1 minute tree cut. That seems kind of slow. Let's get into our melee gear though. We are going to have to swap out our Fang for a Dragon Warhammer. Alright, before we get into storage, drop 1 brew, 1 revet, and then deposit the rest of the brews. We're going to smuggle this bronze axe out of here as we do. Take out the Dragon Warhammer first, because that's what we want to have instead of the Fang. No need for the Fang. Dragon Hunter crossbow. Forgo the crystal helm. We're not going to need that, really. Did I really not sip a single stamina dose during this entire raid? Huh, interesting. Goes to show that you don't need these anymore. We will need it at home, though. Alright, here we go. I believe we have everything. We're gonna pre-pot here, essentially. And in we go. Really hoping I didn't forget anything. Looks okay, though. Hammer and lance. Probably the most important things. Okay, missed our hammer and missed our second hammer. Unfortunately, all too common. Yeah, quite unfortunate. Well, here we go. We have our ancestral robe top upgrade for this iteration of the solo CM setup. This is where it's going to shine. I gotta imagine our max hits have increased a little bit here. Perhaps a 46? We also do have the Avernic treads on, which do play a factor as well. Again, the Avernic treads obviously did not exist at this time, but I don't have the Primordial boots anymore. So we're just gonna have to work with the Avernic treads. We are technically wearing the Primordial boots, as the Primordial boots have been infused into the treads. That's the loophole right there. That is the loophole. That is the mage hand done. You know what? We are going to go for another spec here. It'd be good to get at least one hammer spec, right? Okay, 0 for 3. Nothing we can do about that. Alright, it autoed us twice, so we're going to 3 to 1 here. Once we do the 3 to 1, we're back in cycle. Honestly, for no hammer, this is not going too terribly right now. We're getting decent hits. Yeah, for a no hammer melee phase right there, not too bad. Okay, we got a hammer spec. We're 1 for 4 right now. Let's go. We're on the board. Wait a second, that's not my ancestral top. That was a fighter torso. Nice and easy, not much to this, honestly. One more hit. We got 2 hammers, no way. A 38? Jeez. Our prayer situation's not looking too good on this one. Olm has been very mean, very rude. We're working with 1 restore here, and we still have the whole P3 to do, as well as the head phase. Dude, what? Okay, I feel scammed on that one. That was weird. Lightning, okay. I'm gonna have to 3 to 1. I messed up. Where's this portal? 10 tiles, by the way, classic. Classic. When you're souling Olm and the white portal is in absolute Narnia. Alright, we are gonna have to restore here no matter what we do. But yeah, this is a sketch. This is a sketch. The good thing is 3-0 mage requires like no prayer. With the enhance going, it pretty much is 0 prayer. Or you lose prayer very slowly. Alright, we hit a 45 there, and that was not the max hit, so yeah, our new max hit is probably a 46 or a 47. Self-reminder, this is a P3, so don't reset it. 47 max hit, there we go. Really wish we hit that. Unfortunately not. Crystal came out, so 1 to 0, and then we also got auto twice, so we're gonna 3 to 1. Dude, more prayer drain? This is not the time. This is not the time. At least we don't have to worry about our brew situation right now, though. Now, we're going to tank a hit here. We're not trying to, you know, stay in cycle. We just got to get rid of that hand as quick as possible. Oh, with our prayer situation right now, we definitely need that enhance to be running. Alright, in 2 raids, we have not had a good ruby. There we go. Just gotta complain, you know? Just gotta complain. Oh, another one. But at what cost? We're currently getting absolutely smacked. Oh. Good timing. We're gonna restore. We are now out of restore, so no prayer drain, please. Oops. Ooh. Everything's fine. Oh, I was late on that eat. Okay, now that ruby is a troll. Alright, game. Are you done? There we go. 45-19, so we once again beat our previous run, so that's good. You know, it makes sense, right? The more gear we bring, the better gear we bring, the faster we go. So here is a change. If we're talking about 2 years ago, back in 2023, and now these raids in 2025, you used to not get seeds here, but now you do. Alrighty. The 45-19. You know, I do believe the master time is actually 45 minutes. Let's go ahead and check that right now. Challenge mode. Chambers of Xerics. Solo. Speed Chaser. Yeah, 45 minutes. So we were just 15 seconds shy of the master time, or 19 seconds shy.